Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashotara Shatashi Shrimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashotara Shatashi Shrimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Mathura Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Bhakti Devi ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Yamuna Mayi ki jai, Ganga Mayi ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Shrimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto. Chapter number 17, text 25. Idanim dharma padas te satyang nirvartayed yata or yata tang jigrikshati adharmo yam andritenaidhitah kalihi idhanim dharmapadaste satyang nirvartaye yatah tang jigrikshitya dharmo yang andritenaidhita kalihi idanim dharmapadaste satyang nirvartaye yatah tang jigrikshitya dharmo yam andritenaidhita kalihi idanim dharmapadaste satyang nirvartaye yatah tang jigrikshitya dharmo yam andritenaidhita kalihi
Idanim dharmapadaste satyang nirvartayet yatah tang jigrikshitya dharmo yam anritenaidhita kalihi
Idamim dharma padaste satyam nivartayed yatah tam jigrikshati dharmam yam anritenadhita kalihi
Idanim dharmapadaste satyang nirvartayed yatah
Satyam nirvartayejataha.
तं जिगृक्षत्य धर्मोऽयम्
Tang jigrikshate dharmoyang.
अनित्येनायदिता कलिः
Anritenaithita kalihi.
Idanim dharma padaste
Idanim dharmapadaste.
satyam nirvartayed yataha
Satyam nirvartayejataha.
tam jihrik satya dharmoyam
Tang jigrikshate dharmoyang.
Anritenaid hita kalihi.
Anritenaithita kalihi.
Idam dharma padaste,
Idanim
idanim dharma
dharmapadaste.
padaste, satyam nirvartayed yataha,
Satyam nirvartayejataha.
tam jigrak satya adharmoyam,
Tang jigrikshate dharmoyang.
anrute naidita kalihi, anrute
Anritenaithita kalihi.
Idanim dharma padaste
Idanim dharmapadaste.
satyam nivartayed yataha
Satyam nirvartayejataha.
tam jigrikshate dharmoyam
Tang jigrikshate dharmoyang.
anritenaidita kalihi.
Anritenaithita kalihi.
Idanim dharma padaste
Idanim dharmapadaste.
satyam nivartayad yataha tam jigrakshatya dharmoyam
Tam jigrikshate dharmoyang.
anritenaidita kalahi.
Anritenaithita kalihi.
Idanim dharma padaste
Idanim dharmapadaste.
satyam nirvartayed yataha
Satyam nirvartayejataha.
tam jihrikshatya dharmoyam
Tang jigrikshate dharmoyang.
Anritenaidita kalihi.
Anritenaithita kalihi.
Idanim dharma padaste
Idanim dharmapadaste.
satyam nivartayed yataha tam jigrakshatya dharmoyam
Dharma dharmoyang.
anritenaidita kalahi.
Anritenaithita kalihi.
Idanim dharma padaste
Nim dharmapadaste.
satyam nirvartayed yataha
Satyam nirvartayejataha.
tam jigrikshate dharmoyam
Tang jigrikshate dharmoyam.
anritenaidita kalihi.
Anritenaithita kalihi.
Idanim dharma padaste,
Idanim dharmapadaste.
satyam nirvartayed yataha,
Nirtayejataha.
tam jigrikshate dharmoyam,
Anriten yam.
anritenaidita kalihi.
Anritenaithita kalihi.
Idanim dharma padaste
Idanim dharmapadaste.
satyam nirvartayed yataha
Satyam nirvartayejataha.
tam jigrikshate dharmoyam
Tang jigrikshate dharmoyam.
anritenaidita kalihi.
Anritenaithita kalihi.
Idanim dharma padaste
Idanim dharmapadaste.
satyam nivartaye yataha
Satyam nirvartayejataha.
tam jigrikshate dharmoyam
Tang jigrikshate dharmoyam.
anritenaidita kalihi.
Anritenaithita kalihi. Anyone else need to chant this verse? Anyone online need to chant this verse? Idanim dharma padaste satyam nirvartaye jataha
Tam jigrikaste ardamuyam
tang jigrikshatya dharmo yang
anartinan hitakalihi.
andrite nairhita kalihi. Okay, thank you. Idanim, at the present moment. Dharma, O personality of religion. Pada, leg. Te, of you. Satyam, truthfulness. Nirvartayet, hobbling along somehow or other. Yataha, whereby. Tam, that. Jigrikshati, trying to destroy. Adharmaha, the personality of irreligion. Ayam, this. Anritena, by deceit. Ed hitaha, flourishing. Kalihi, quarrel personified. Translation. You are now standing on one leg only, which is your truthfulness, and you are somehow or other hobbling along. But quarrel personified, Kali, flourishing by deceit, is also trying to destroy that leg. Please repeat. You are now standing on one leg only, which is your truthfulness, and you are somehow or other hobbling along. But quarrel personified, Kali, flourishing by deceit, is also trying to destroy that leg. Purport. The principles of religion do not stand on some dogmas or man-made formulas, but they stand on four primary regulative observances, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. The mass of people must be taught to practice these principles from childhood. Pardon me. Austerity means to accept voluntarily things which may not be very comfortable for the body, but are conducive for spiritual realization. For example, fasting. Fasting twice or 4 times a month is a sort of austerity which may be voluntarily accepted for spiritual realization only, and not for any other purposes, political or otherwise. Fastings which are meant not for self-realization, but for some other purposes, are condemned in the Bhagavad Gita 17.5 and 6. Similarly, cleanliness is necessary both for the mind and for the body. Simply bodily cleanliness may help to some extent, but cleanliness of the mind is necessary, and it is effected by glorifying the Supreme Lord. No one can cleanse the accumulated mental dust without glorifying the Supreme Lord. A godless civilization cannot cleanse the mind because it has no idea of God. And for this simple reason, people under such a civilization cannot have good qualifications. However, they may be materially equipped. We have to see things by their resultant action, The resultant action of human civilization in the age of Kali is dissatisfaction. So everyone is anxious to get peace of mind. This peace above mentioned, this peace of mind was complete in the Satya age because of the existence of the above mentioned attributes of the human beings. Gradually, these attributes have diminished in the Treta Yuga to 3/4, in the Dwapara Yuga to half, and in this age of Kali to 1/4, which is also gradually diminishing on account of prevailing untruthfulness. By pride, either artificial or real, the resultant action of austerity is spoiled. By too much affection for female association, cleanliness is spoiled. By too much addiction to intoxication, mercy is spoiled. And by too much lying propaganda, truthfulness is spoiled. The revival of Bhagavata Dharma can save human civilization from falling prey to evils of all description. Idanim dharma padaste satyang nirvartayet yataha tam jigrikshatya dharmo yang anrite naidhita kalihi. Translation. You are now standing on one leg only, which is your truthfulness, and you are somehow or other hobbling along. But quarrel personified Kali, flourishing by deceit, is also trying to destroy that leg. So thank you, devotees, for being here. Thank you for welcoming me back to the temple. And it's good to see all the devotees worshipping Shri Shri Gaur Nitai. And with your blessings, I'll try to say something positive or helpful for us on the Transcendental platform. So, these principles of religion doesn't stand on some dogmas or man-made formulas, but there are 4 primary regulative observances, which are austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. So these 4 are the pillars of religion, and activities which are contrary to these are the principles of sinful life, or those principles which destroy the pillars which are meant to uphold the human society. Religion is meant for the human society. And I think there's a verse which has Bhagavat Pranitam, that actually the rules of God, or the laws of God, they're not man-made, some concoction or speculation. It's actually given by Him, by that Supreme Personality of Godhead. He provides those rules and guidelines. So it's His world, it's His game, and we're meant to learn how to play properly. When we do that, we get benefit. We get benefit because this is the Lord's mercy on the living entities, that those who use their free will in accordance with His supreme will, they can mitigate all material pangs. Essentially, He gives a system of rectification in this material world, and if we don't take it up, then we'll suffer in 3 forms adhyatmika, adhibautika, and adhidaivika kleshas or sufferings, which are always giving a nice prong to the conditioned living entity. But after some time getting the hard knocks of the material world, then what happens? Then you want to say, I want liberation. Let me be done with all of it, right? Then you're seeking for mukti. You tried to enjoy, it didn't work. Every time you try to enjoy, you get burned. So then we want some mukti. I want peace. I want peace of mind. I want to be free from all of this suffering. And essentially, there's a misconception which will hit, which is that I actually want to be free from being a person anymore. Because all my experience as being a person has pretty much sucked. That means I've actually been dead. So, these principles that Krishna gives, austerity, cleanliness, truthfulness, and mercy, these are the pillars which will help us become a real person again. Actually, these principles are meant for the human beings, not the animals and dogs and cats. If there's a small creature who has been, what's the word? Some sort of physical ailment, is sick, like in the jungle or the savannah, desert, or whatever. The sick animal is the one which is eaten by the predators, right? So you say, hey, that's not very merciful for the lion to kill that sick animal. He doesn't have a fair shot. But this is the laws of nature. So these types of principles, they're not applicable to the dogs and cats and hogs. There's one verse which is it's given in the spiritual yoga, which is really pretty awesome. And Lord Rishabhadev tells his sons, don't live your life working hard for sense gratification, which is available to the hogs and dogs. Instead, you should practice some divine austerities, which will award you the position of devotional service or bring you to that platform. So the devotional service is a natural occupation of the soul. It's not like it's something that you earn. You more or less you uncover it. It's a mercy from Krishna. So upon practicing the laws of religion, then one may one may actually achieve the position of devotional service by the Lord's mercy. He may send such a sincere soul, a pure devotee, to bestow the seed of devotional service. So that Brahmanya Brahmite Bhagavan ko nijiv Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij, that this living entity is actually wandering all here and there. And when he meets the pure devotee, then he gets a seed of devotional service. And what does it start with? It starts with hearing. And soon after, or immediately after, there is chanting. He says, please chant Hare Krishna. What is that? What did you say? Krishna? Oh, Krishna says, wow, he glorified me. So we cannot cleanse the mind actually until we actually glorify Krishna, the Supreme Lord. So indirectly, everything is actually glorifying him. You build a massive building. You build a very large stone sculpture, which doesn't actually mean anything. And it's just in a weird shape. You say, wow, art. Right? That's just a little indirect glory of Krishna. And we're appreciating that. So I heard once that we are little appreciators. And we show our appreciation by our attention. Whatever we appreciate, we'll put our attention there. And when we start to appreciate the Supreme Lord by hearing his glories from others, Shravanam, then naturally we'll put our attention on him, and eventually we'll also glorify, which is a natural propensity of the soul. Everybody is always glorifying somebody. Prabhupada speaks about this in Nectar of Instruction. By this, everybody's always glorifying. I'll glorify chiefs. I'll glorify this celebrity. I'll glorify that. I'll glorify this food I'm going to eat. I'll glorify my own self, my body. I'll glorify this. I'll glorify that. And by a little glorification, even a little person who's more or less just an insignificant ant can become a big, big man by being in the newspaper overnight. You know? But this propensity is meant to be directed towards the Supreme Lord, which is the object of all glorification, and he's the source of all opulences. Yat yat vibhutimat sattvam. That whatever it has existence in this world, which is great, that is actually a little spark of my splendor. Krishna says. So we're meant to direct this glorification towards him. These principles of religion are more or less prerequisites to that. But if we come in contact with the pure devotee, then we can take the glorification of the Supreme Lord, even unknowingly, by their mercy. Just like we meet people on the street. Are they practicing mercy towards the animals? Hardly. We meet people on the street. Are they practicing cleanliness by strictly observing, celibacy? No. Actually, all humans are supposed to be celibates. Of course, there has to be some, has to go along with something. Even a householder who's following the principles of religion given by Krishna practices cleanliness, the vow of celibacy within marriage. But actually, all humans are meant for that occupation. And without those things, it's very hard to come to devotional service. But by the mercy of the pure devotees, we bring the temple to them. We bring Krishna to them. Here, this is Krishna's name. Take him. Glorify him. Become clean. We're becoming clean. And we should know, right? We should never not be convinced that we're on the path. We are becoming clean. Whatever we can do in glorification of the Supreme Lord, it is cleaning the mind. It is cleaning the heart. So, in the godless civilization, how can they glorify God? So we need to tell them who is God. Then they know what to say. They know who is that person. But actually, if we give people the holy name, give them prasadam, give them something about Krishna to appreciate. If they just appreciate, then that is a type of a glorification. Or that will be the beginning of glorification. and they will be on their path towards pure love of Godhead. And in that way, the devotees of this movement are spreading love of Godhead everywhere. And we're following in the footsteps of the many branches of Lord Chaitanya's tree. And we're so very fortunate to have this pure process, because we ourselves lived much of our lives in ways contrary to these principles of human life, or these principles of religion, which are so very necessary for the human beings. So actually, everybody's searching for peace of mind, and there's no higher peace than that peace which is attained in pure devotional service. That peace is something different than shanti, It's not just sit and, but one who knows that Krishna is the beneficiary of all austerities and penances, that he is the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and that he is the beneficiary, or the well-wisher of all living entities, that person can attain peace from the pangs of material miseries. And the word, I forgot the Sanskrit, but that word shanti is more or less there. At the end of the verse, probably we can know. Shantim richati. Yatva shantim richati, right? Knowing me, one can attain that peace from those pangs of material miseries. So you can do, that's automatically included, but then there's the positive side. Now you're engaged in the blissful spiritual life, which is your real birthright. Sometimes it stings. Sometimes it's very bitter. And that just goes to show, hardly we have really started in one sense. But we started by mercy of Srila Prabhupada and our ISKCON movement. Many, many devotees have taken a personal interest in our spiritual life, and we should always be so thankful for all their encouragements. And we should know that without practicing these principles of religion, it'll be very hard for us to practice our glorification of the Supreme Lord, to become cleansed from the propensity to break those principles. So therefore, we do our devotional service, and part of that instruction given by the spiritual master is to also refrain from the activities which are contrary to these principles of religion, which are required for human society. Okay, devotees, thank you for tolerating me. Dr. Jacob. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for your nice class. Prabhupada had a nectar purport. There's two things I was going to mention, just short comments. When Prabhupada talks about austerity in the purport, I thought about, that we only take prasadam. It's simple for us in the temple to only take prasadam. We're very fortunate in that way. But when you are living outside the temple, it can sometimes be difficult. Plus, there's so many other, the standard is set so high. In the beginning of the movement, along with the 4 regulative principles, Prabhupada made a list that was hung in the 26 Second Avenue temple, and on there it said no karmi grains. And so the no karmi grains means we don't eat like bread that's bought at the store that's made. We can make our own bread and offer it, very nicely. But that's kind of an austerity because we have to take the time to do that. And we could maybe still have like potato chips because they don't have karmi grains, but it's not the best level. Prabhupada really tried to hit hard to his initial disciples and continue, I guess, that we shouldn't take karmi grains. The other thing I was going to mention is in the purport, Prabhu said about something about resultant good actions. Or is that how he phrased it? Something about basically always, how I understood that is always thinking about what is the result of our actions and what is the goal of every action we do, and become very conscious of that. And that way we don't want to waste time on any other activity that wouldn't be in line with praising Krishna or glorifying Krishna's name. And, you know, I would have many discussions with my parents about this, or notice it, like they'd say, we're doing this because, and then we're doing this because, and then the because would just hang there because there was no ultimate goal they were trying to serve. They were just serving themselves and ultimately didn't want to think about death. So anyway, just a few comments. Thanks for your class.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, I like those points. It is an austerity to take only prasadam, and we know that the standard can be at different levels. And ideally in the temple, we're meant to show the society what is the highest standard. And that's important. And we get a lot of benefit from being a part of maintaining that standard and also practicing that and taking that wherever we may go, to our own home or anywhere. Now, if anybody has, yes, so that is an austerity. And there's so many things which attract our mind when we go to the store or we go outside of the temple. Foods are there, but if we know there will be a nice prasad at this time, we just try to show up at that time, at least. Get that nice prasad, mind will be satisfied, That's also an austerity. You got to be there. And then we also have to share with each other. That's an austerity too. So then you mentioned about the resultant action. So Prabhupada says, just to hit that point again, it says, no one can cleanse the accumulated mental dust without glorifying the Supreme Lord. A godless civilization cannot cleanse the mind because it has no idea of God. For this simple reason, people under such a civilization cannot have good qualifications. However, they may be materially equipped. We have to see things by their resultant action. The resultant action of human civilization in the age of Kali is dissatisfaction. So in this context, we don't have any knowledge of God. Therefore, we cannot glorify Him. And the resultant action is we're all dissatisfied. And everyone's hankering for peace of mind. But the resultant action of knowledge of God, or accumulation of knowledge about the Supreme Lord, is we can glorify Him, we can become cleansed, and then we have peace of mind. So this movement is doing the highest welfare work for everyone, and the results are seen practically. And when you tell somebody, I used to be addicted to all these nonsense things, every single one of them had a hold of me. I could not budge until I met Srila Prabhupada through his books, until the devotees saved my life. I was going down. And the holy name has lifted me up. And if we don't hold on, I'll be back where I started. Because every day I realize I barely got clean at all. But somehow or other, by devotees association, we just don't do those things anymore. Even though my heart is very dirty and I want to do. So, thank you, devotees, for allowing me to try to serve Krishna with you. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.